Hey guys, how's it going? So let's get started with our third lesson where we're going to talk about how to duplicate objects and how to change the pivot point that's in the middle of the object. All right, here we go. I'm going to create a cube. I created the cube. Now, here's a new tip. Press F. If you press F, it zooms in on the cube or whatever you have selected. If you have a selected, if you select another face, it zooms in on that face and then it rotates around the face. If I select the vertex and press it, it rotates around that vertex. So this is really useful because when you have other objects in the scene, let's say I'm here and I want to frame this one, just press F and then it rotates around that object. Then if you select another object and press F, it rotates around that object. All right, that's one tip. Now another tip. Let's suppose I have a tree. Let's say this is a tree and I want to duplicate this tree. Press Ctrl D and I've duplicated it. So you duplicate it and here in the outliner, you'll see that I have two cubes. But if it were a tree, it would duplicate and you'd have two trees, right? That's right, math. 1 + 1 is 2. So let's go. In 7, what is it? I have this pivot here inside the cube. It's in the middle of the cube. So if I rotate the cube, it rotates around this pivot. If I scale it, it scales around this pivot. But we can move this pivot to another place. How do I do that? I press the D key and then I can put this gizmo wherever I want. And then if I press D again and the edge rotates, I rotate around where the gizmo is, you see? Around where the gizmo is. But here's a tip. I'm going to press E. And there are 3 keys on the keyboard that are essential. D, X, and V. For now, I'll talk about these two, X and V. V is for vertex. If you hold V and click with the middle mouse button, you can, and then you press D again, and if you rotate, it will rotate around that point. This is important for everything. Everything we're going to do, we need to know about snap and also about the grid. Let's suppose here that I have a domino and I'm going to make one domino fall on top of another. So I set up this domino here. It's a bit thick, a bit thin, right? Let's put it here. And now I'm going to change the pivot. I'm going to press D and set the pivot to the center of the world. Okay, then I press it again. If I rotate now, I'm rotating this domino around the world center. So what am I going to do? I'm going to press Ctrl D and then I duplicated it. And if I press Shift D, it duplicates with the exact same amount that I'm going to rotate, which lets you, there you go. Now I have this many dominoes and this is actually good for us to do a lesson later on, how we can knock over these dominoes and have everything work perfectly. All right, we're even going to do a lesson. I like the idea. So that's it for rotating and duplicating. Now let's go. I'm going to make a staircase here as an example for you guys. Cube, my pivot. I pressed F, my pivot is inside this cube at its center. I'm going to press D, D, and then V, V to snap here, D snap. All right, I press D again. Now I want to make a stair step like from a house or something. All right, so I'm going to make a step. Okay, now I'm going to duplicate this step. Control D, then if I press V, I snap it, and then I press Shift D. And it will create the staircase for me. The staircase is done. So that's it. It's really essential for you to know where this pivot is. And there's also something else. If you want to make a staircase, oops, hold on. I selected everything. If you want to make a spiral staircase, then you'll move the pivot over here, for example. DV, I set the pivot, press D again, and then I'm going to Ctrl D. I'm going to move the vertex up to the top vertex and rotate. Oops. Rotate like this. Then I press Shift D and it will make a staircase and apply the rotation. Got it? So it's really simple to do this kind of thing. Fence gate. There are many things you'll duplicate using this technique. So that's it. If you have any questions, I forgot something. For example, I'll do this stair thing again just to illustrate the point more clearly. So I press D on my keyboard and now I have the pivot point right here, clearly visible. I'm going to create another cube, a brand new one, and then I'll duplicate it to have two identical cubes. I want this particular cube, the one I just created, to be perfectly aligned with this other existing cube. So instead of clicking directly in the very middle of the cube here, which would move the entire object, if I click in the middle, the whole cube moves completely over here, which is not what I want. Instead, I will click specifically on this axis, the one that runs horizontally, because I want it to move precisely along this particular axis. Then it moves exactly along this axis. You see how that works? It's quite precise. It only moves along the axis I clicked. So for example, I want it to be at the same height as this one. Then I click on this axis, press V, and use the middle mouse button. Now it's at the same height. If you look here in the side view, it's at the same height. Got it? Okay, so when you're going to do it, right, besides snapping to the vertex, you have to make sure that you have this little square here. This one moves all the axes. Now, if you select one and it turns yellow, it will only move along that axis. I'll snap here, and it only moved along this axis and aligned here. All right, that's it, guys. In the next class, we're going to put all of this into practice and make this house right here, okay? We're gonna build this house from scratch. We're going to do everything. The little bricks, the roof tiles, the trees, the ground, the grass. We're going to make everything, all right? That's it, and I'll see you in the next class. Thanks, take care.